Hello everyone, Karuch from scrapsofmine.com here, and in this Photoshop Elements tutorial I'll be showing you how to create your own individual scrapbook layout backgrounds by blending different digital papers from your stash. In the layout here I've used papers from the Shalia Tippett's gorgeous Renew collection, and the link for this digital collection is in the blog post which is linked to this video. So the first thing that I will do is to create a new file, because you should never work on existing element files in case you accidentally save over the top of them. I'll be creating a 12-inch by 12-inch file with a resolution of 300 pixels per inch. Color mode will be RGB color and my background will be transparent. Okay, now just bear with me a moment whilst I drag this file up my image bucket stack to make it easier to work with, because I've got my screen at a very small size to fit into this video. Okay, the first thing to do is to drag the papers that we'll be using onto our layout file. My first paper is this beautiful floral paper with the white background. Using the Move tool over here, I'll drag that onto my layout background, and then selecting this lovely mottled pink paper, I'll drag that one on top of it. As you can see, because it's a solid, the mottled paper has now visually obliterated the white paper underneath. But if I reduce the opacity of that pink paper, there we go, you can see the design of the floral shining through it, and you still have the effect of the pink. Now that looks very attractive, and you might decide to go with that as your background, but I want something a little bit more. I want to add a level of intensity to it, which I don't think this one has. So I'll select this stripy paper, also from the Renew collection, and drag that on top of my other two papers. Once again, it's covered up the other two papers and you can't see it, or you can't see them, I should say. Now I could reduce the opacity of this in the same way that I did with the pink mottled paper, but I'm really wanting to try and keep some of the intensity of these stripes in my layout. And the trouble with reducing the opacity is that it tends to soften the look of the paper and diffuse it, so you don't get the same level of intensity. So I'm going to use a blending mode. Over here in the top of the layers palette is the blending menu. Click on this and you'll be presented with a list of different options. It goes down beyond the level of this video screen, but if I scroll down, I'm selecting the overlay option. And can you see what's happened? It's turned that stripy paper into a transparent overlay, but still retained all of the intensity in the stripes. So I could go with that, but I actually think there's a little bit too much intensity there now. So I'm going to reduce the opacity. There we go, that should do it. Now I've got my stripes, my mottled look here, and I've got the floral running through it, and I really like the look of this background that I've created. Very happy with that, and I think that's the one we will be turning into our layout. So all I need to do now is to add the elements of my layout. I have a photograph here. As you can see, I've already played around with the blending on this photograph, but that's the subject for a different tutorial. I drag my photo onto my layout background, position it. I don't want it to be straight, so I'm going to tilt it. Let's grab a hold of it first of all. You see these curvy handles, just tilt it around, move it in a little bit, I think. There we go. And accept that action there. Then I think I want to add a frame. This is a frame that comes with the collection. I'll drag that on. I'll tilt that to the angle that I want it to be. Position it over my photo, and obviously this is far too small, so I'll drag it across. I haven't actually worried in this instance about maintaining the aspect ratio to keep all of the perspective in line. If you do have concerns about the aspect ratio, then hold the shift key down whilst you drag the frame to size. I'll leave it where it is now and accept that. And now here's a bit of a bonus technique to go with this tutorial. I actually want my photo to look like it's tucked into the frame, not to have it sitting behind the frame. And this is one of my favorite techniques for doing that. I'll take my layer in the layer palette for the frame, and I will duplicate it by dragging it up to the new layer icon in the layers palette. Then I'll take one of those layers and drag it down underneath the photo. So as you can see, I've got a frame sitting on the top and the bottom of the photo. With the top frame highlighted, I'll select my erase tool and erase parts of the frame that are covering up this part of the photo which I want to have sticking through. So as you can see, now it looks like the photo is tucked in the frame. I'll click back on my move tool so I don't accidentally erase something. Now I'd like to add some shadow to this. I find that if I just add the shadow to the top part of the frame, what I will get is a very dark, very heavy shadow, which is not really what I want. So I click on my lower layer of the frame and I add my soft edge shadow, and as you can see, it's quite dark. I don't like that dark look, but if I reduce the opacity of this layer, as you can see, it also softens the shadow. And the beaut part about this is that because you've got this layer sitting on top, your actual frame doesn't look like it has been it has had its opacity reduced, so you've still got a very solid looking frame. I want to add a shadow to my photograph. I'm going to use the same technique. Duplicate my photograph. On the lower level layer, I'll add my shadow and then reduce the opacity of that layer to make for a soft shadow. There we go. Now all you need to do is maybe add some accents, a title and some journaling, and you have your layout. I hope that you've enjoyed this tutorial and that you can now have some fun creating your own background looks for your layouts. Please click over to www.scrapsofmine.com for news of more tutorials coming up.